Let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Gfinity Starcraft Summer Masters here in London, England. I am Richard Lewis, your host. It's great to be back in Starcraft. There's not quite so much drama in this scene. All the people talking about it on Reddit, you're wrong. You want to step outside, come and see some of the stuff I've been doing lately. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later on. No strangers to drama, no strangers to E-fame, no strangers to greatness. We've got an amazing analysis desk for you with two of the biggest names. And over there you can see we've got a big name, a big man, a big chest as well. He's an absolute beast. It is, of course, in control. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Happy to be here. This is my first time. So the last time I was in England was like, our flight was canceled and I had to stay at some hotel, and that doesn't count. We all know that doesn't count. So now I'm here, and this wouldn't have counted except I got lost. So
Yeah.
I wandered the streets of London for about an hour, and now I feel like I know London really well. I know.
You really do, yes.
Yeah. My first experience too was going up to a bus driver. I was like, hey. I was like, sir, and he's got, like the classic, like paperboy hat. Like, he's like, good day, governor. He's like, can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm lost. Do you mind? He's like, fuck off. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're a bus driver. Like, help me out. And he's like, get on then.
Yeah.
That
And,
was my first experience.
and next to him, a man who's a bit more familiar with London, although he is the Gallic great, it is Stefano. How are you doing, brother? You
Lovely, lovely. Glad to be here. Finally, I've been lurking around this tournament forever,
I know.
and finally I got
finally got your chance.
Finally, yeah.
Don't mess it up. Anyway, we're going to talk to those guys a little bit later. But first of all, let's give you the schedule. We have got some games coming your way. It's not just going to be us prattling on. You can see
A lot of that, though.
Yeah, there will be a lot of that, obviously.
Yeah.
You can see today we're going to have all of the group stage games. That's going to be 5 games from Group A, 5 games from Group B, and then we're going to go home and hopefully In Control doesn't get lost again. And then on Sunday, that's tomorrow, we're going to go straight into the semi-finals, best of 5s there, and then a best of 7 grand final, as it should be, and that'll be starting at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, I mean, it's going to be fairly bit of a roller coaster.
It's a brief tournament, yeah. It's actually Snoot kind of took to the forums a little bit, talking about how an 8-man tournament is a little bit nice. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more intimate. You see the players. It offers the opportunity to see all the matches as opposed to larger tournaments where noticeably you can't see all the matches because that would actually take a year. So it's gonna be nice that way. We're gonna get to know these guys a little bit, and it's an important tournament as well. Some of these guys are on the up and down. Bunny is a player who just a couple of weeks ago we would have said was the absolute best foreigner. Now we're talking about a bunch of French people to give you an idea of how that's changed. And there's also some even Koreans like DeParture. I remember when this tournament was being talked about, a lot of people were like, DeParture? Who the heck is that? So we're going to take a little bit more of a closer look at it.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see some players.
Yeah. And I think in such a small tournament, like being able to know all your opponents, like you can actually prepare good strategies for every match and be completely ready. While in a big tournament, you don't know who you're meeting and what's going to happen. So now I expect like the players to be actually really on front with their games. Yeah, exactly. So they know what they're going to do. They prepare the games, and that's why we're going to have a nice series, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. What we'll do is we'll show you the format, and of course the prize pool, which is why the players are here. So you can see that we've got 8 of the world's best players. We're going to have 2 groups of 4, and it's going to be the dual group format. So if you lose 2, you're out basically. That's that sort of GSL style that I'm sure you're all familiar with in StarCraft. We're going to have 2 players in each group advancing to the knockout stage, and single elimination from the knockout stage onwards. The prize pool is going to be $5,000 to the winner, $2,500 to the runner-up, and then 3rd and 4th place get $8,000 each. So a very respectable chunk of change, especially in these current times.
Well, I mean, as a pro gamer, you're hunting for that prize pool anytime. Any payday is a good payday, especially on a weekend tournament like this. It's only a couple of days. And with the format being paid out to the 3rd and 4th place, it just means if you make it out of your group, there's a cool $1,000. So it's really not that bad. And, to be honest, like this is a really good tournament. We see some awesome names there, but this is not Kespa. We're not talking about the most insane groups. So it's actually kind of cool that way. We get to take a look at these guys and say, these are all top-notch names, and let's see how they compete.
Well, let's take a look at those names. We're going to bring it up. We're going to show you how we got the groups divided. You can see that Group A, we've got DeParture and Marine Lord there. First and Bunny probably is a bit more familiar for people at home, but we are going to be super psyched to take a look at DeParture. I'm interested in that. And then Group B, bit of a group of death. in a lot of ways. You've got Snoot, your evil genius's compatriot there, J-Dong, True, and Bling, who must be thinking, what have I done? He's the hometown hero. What have I done to deserve this Gfinity? And it's worth mentioning, just to carry on from the point you were saying there, Jeff, of course, this is almost like a freebie in terms of a tournament, because obviously Gfinity, they pay for everything. They get the players here. They look after them. You've had your vouchers now. You've had that experience. You can get that Nando's.
I had my cheeky Nando's.
You're in the Nando's club now.
Yep.
We all get to live the dream. So it is an opportunity. I mean, you'd be crazy to turn it down ultimately.
Absolutely. Yeah, London's a really nice place to visit. It's not too far for these guys to travel from, and it's not that this super factors in, but actually weather-wise, it's quite pleasant, by the way. We were just in Germany where we were actually dying. It was like 135,000 degrees.
Yeah.
But in England, it's like this is summer for them, and it's short and t-shirt weather. It's really quite nice. So the accommodations are great. The talent is pretty close, I would say. Like we don't look at this and go, okay, well, let's see how many games Rain loses on his way to an absolute victory. Like this is actually pretty close. 4 of the 8 players are Zerg, so I think that's why we have Stefano here. I'm pretty sure. But otherwise, I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So look, let's take a look at what fixtures we're going to bring you today. And obviously, some of these fixtures are going to develop over the course of the day, depending on who wins and who loses, because of that GSL format. But you can see we're going to get up and running with DeParture versus Bunny, and then we're going to follow that up with Snoot versus Bling. And then as we move through, you'll see we've got the winner of Game 1 versus the winner of Game 2, loser of Game 1, loser of Game 2, Game 3, winner Game 4, blah, blah, blah. You know how it works. Now, we can start talking about these games. What I'll do is I'll talk a little bit just about Bling here. Obviously, the hometown hero. We always like to give him a pop at Gfinity.
Yeah.
Been in a bit of a strange place lately. He's just come back from...
I think it's a really good position for him. Like, being in a group where he's the worst, basically. Like, he knows... everybody knows it. There's no doubt about that. But it means, like, he can actually dare to do, like, strange strategy and try to do all-ins and stuff like that, because he has nothing to lose. He lost anyway, right? Oh, I mean, that's a bit harsh to say, but I think in a way, like, he can...
Sam's going to hate you.
Yeah.
Don't show him this far.
So it can be a good position for a player like that. Because if he's just a middle player, he will always be afraid of what he does and the consequences of his decisions. But in this position, it's perfect for him.
The other side of the coin, too, is he's the only Protoss with 3 Zergs. So for him, he's going to practice PvZ. For them, they're going to focus on ZvZ. And to Stefano's point, as a severe afterthought, they'll be like, well, I guess... a little bit of Protoss, because I might have to play that Englishman that I've never heard of in my life for them. Except for Jadon, of course. He knows the Rockstar. But those are the advantages. And, of course, it is an underdog story, as you said. He did come to this and probably look at it and go, he's like, England, come on, mate. Like, come on. I'm your boy. You know, and, like, there he is. He's cornered in with the Koreans. And Snoot, by the way, who might as well be Korean because he's a monster.
Yeah, he's a monster, absolutely. So we've been talking about our tournament picks, who we think we're going to win. We've got a graphic for you, which we'll bring up so you can have a look on at home. And we've all had a pick, and I'm getting flamed by all the guys from me. Like, Richard, you don't even know about Starcraft, right? Why are you even allowed to have a pick? But you can see I've plumped for Bunny from Team Liquid to win the whole thing. He had a poor showing last time he was here. And I think he's going to change. I think he needs to prove it. You can see, obviously, Stefano, back when he was smiling, back when Starcraft was reason to be happy, he went for True. And then look at In Control, it's you.
Yeah, but what I got to say, man, is like, what is the production guy got against you? Because these are all really handsome pictures of everyone. And then they catch one with you, like, mid-poop. Like, you're just...
Mate, that's as good as it gets. Trust me, they were like, Rich, send us your best photo, and that's what they did. That's why they put me with, like, 2 guys with, like, great thick heads of hair next to me. It's just torture all the time. Anyway, we got Dark Horses as well. Now, this was, again, a bit of a cheeky pick from me because True, obviously being a Dark Horse, is patently absurd because he's a potential tournament winner and everyone else's favourite. But I didn't think like I could leave him off. I had to mention him. So once I went for Bunny, True's probably the other guy that can win it. Now, Stefano, you've gone for your compatriot, as has Jeff as well. You've both gone for Marine Lord, and everyone else, Jorisar, Hook, and Penguin, they've gone for DeParture as the Dark Horse, which... that's a bit of a stretch for me. So I'll ask you guys about Marine Lord. Why is it that you think he can be a dark horse? I know he's had some great results.
I think like we're going kind of through a French Revolution right now in Starcraft too.
Oh, wow.
Like it just happened suddenly. I don't know where is it coming from or what happened, but suddenly Marine Lord. It's not like about a race or a match because Terrans and Protoss same time. It works really well for them. And yeah, like Lilbo did second in the WCS, right? And Marine Lord did a good result. I can't remember what.
Petit Drogo right now is actually tearing up probably a little bit more than Lilbo is most recently.
Yeah, but see, like I feel like French people are, or in this tournament or globally, they are the best challenger to be able to win a tournament right now nowadays. Yeah.
I think it's like there's some kind of folklore to it, like in Marvel, the Rings of Power or something like that. Like when Stefano broke apart and became a college student, like his like little pieces of Stefano sprinkled down into France, and like young Lilbo jumped up and grabbed it, and then morphed into the Lilbo we know now, and Petit Drogo snorted it up, and I mean, however else you would consume.
That's
Stefano.
a nice image. I think it's likely.
Was it like how would you absorb Stefano? Do you think?
Absorb myself.
How would they absorb you? Is it a snort or is it like a?
It has to be a snort.
Yeah, I guess.
Or you could.
Or you burn me and
some
you
kind
just
of paper
the
that
ashes or something.
soaks
right?
liquids, and then you could put it somewhere.
Liquids. What are you talking about now?
Yeah, I know. I know
think
what
this is
you're
a
saying.
bit wrong. What are you talking about?
It's really absorbent. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I can't think either.
Absorbing something.
Like some kind of something you would absorb fluids with, and then.
Oh, your mouth.
And then you might put it in an orifice or something.
I can't think of the name. We'll talk.
Yeah,
about it
we'll get onto that a little bit later. Yeah, we've had some fun at your expense here, Stefano, but you can't quite make out why. But look, on a serious note, let's talk about the French Revolution a little bit because why is that happening all of a sudden? I mean, for the longest period of time.
They've always been eager because like they saw I could achieve it, and they were always behind me, and they were like, okay, Stefano is gone. Now we need to do something. We need to prove that France can do well, and it's just not an exception with Stefano. And for 2 years they kept trying, and nothing happened. Right, almost nothing. Let's say.
They did okay behind you.
Yeah, but I mean, like not as much as we want him to do. And then, like it just broke. Like something happened, and they all got the talent or the motivation or the strategy, the broke-up strategy, which happened, which is ZVP right now. I'm speaking about that. Like there is an explanation in ZVP, but for Marine Law, there's no proper explanation. It just happened, or it's just hard work, and at some point it pays off. And sometimes it's just like clicks, like when a player plays like all day long, and it doesn't work out, but just he works out the next day, he wins the first game, and he goes again, and he wins, and it's just like click, and it can happen, and I think that's what happened with
do you think any of these French players can match?
Oh no, Stefano? Come on, don't be ridiculous.
Had to ask the question.
No, I mean, I don't want them to, because I want to keep my title, but I think it's a bit too late right now with Starcraft 2 to be able to do such an achievement. I had the luck to be there in the early stage of the game.
There's something to that. The game's getting harder as time goes on. Absolutely.
The game is too stable right now for someone to just come out to the blue.
Yeah, like a phenom.
Yeah.
But they're getting close. Like Petit Drogo actually almost just won a very large tournament and faced Luciria in the finals, and it was a good series. Like it's getting to that point. That, and to Stefano's credit, is he was the guy who, when he was playing, was the only one doing that. And it's nice now that in that French scene, it's like, well, Lilbo just did WCS, Petit Drogo's kind of dancing around, and even Marine Lord, to get into this tournament a little bit, it was Home Story Cup where he made Jaedong and Hyung look really, really bad. Yeah. He actually, his TVZ absolutely demolished him. So it's nice that we're mentioning players, and again, we've done this before, it's winning tournaments, though, that really, that's what made Stefano special as a player, and it's something that we're still looking for with these guys, like Petit Drogo, second place. Lilbo, second place. So that's really good finals. That's great, but it's still not winning.
All about
it's a good beginning, you have to admit. Like someone who just came out straight away second place. Like he didn't go through the top 8, top 16. It was straight to top 2. And I think that's quite an achievement.
Well, 2 players are going to be going for the gold here. One a dark horse, one a genuine contender. Obviously, we're going to have our first game. It's going to be Bunny versus DeParture. We've got the map vetoes coming in now. Again, talk us through this, guys, the significance of these vetoes. Is there anything in there that's a surprise?
I wish we had the maps showed up, because I don't know the names. And that's quite unprofessional.
You really don't know the names?
I know a few, but Bridgehead, no idea what's that.
Bridgehead is the one where your main base is it's like elongated on the left and right side of the map, and then there's just tons of bridges in between to be.
Okay.
It's not. Coda is one of the most typical maps you're going to see. You're going to see that in these best of threes probably every single time. It's become kind of that lost temple to give a throwback of like everyone's pretty okay with this map. Terraform, I would say, is a distant but kind of close second in that regard, and then Iron Fortress is the kind of the flex one. You're going to see a little bit of Cactus Valley there, a little bit of Dash and Terminal, and Moonlight Madness, and if the players can avoid it, they're all going to probably stay away from Bridgehead. Things get weird on Bridgehead.
What do you think of Benny taking Coda first? Do you think like he just wants a stable map for the first game because he knows he just play a standard game and hopes to win, basically?
I feel like, that's not going to be your map where you're going to have any kind of like special tactic, like this is, oh, on code I bust out this super special thing. I don't think either of these guys know each other very well. DeParture was a part of the foreign scene for a little while there, and then departed into.
Whoa! Oh my!
Guys,
how long have you been saving that one for?
Listen, it's the analysis desk. This is where the dad puns come out. All right, but also the same for Bunny and vice versa. So I think that that's. But also, as pro gamers in a short best of 3, a lot of them feel like they're the better player, especially in a tournament like this, where again there is no god like parting, rain or something like that. So they're all like, I could win this guy, and I'm going to play it on a map I know absolutely well, where there's less gimmicks.
No, I know we're all looking forward to seeing how DeParture does. Of course, I got to be rooting for Bunny now, because otherwise I'm going to look very stupid indeed and have egg on my face. But we're going to throw over to the casters. It's going to be Jorasar versus Penguin. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you very much, guys, and welcome to the casting desk here. We're going to be hopping into game number 1 very shortly. I'm doing very well, Penguin. How are you doing this weekend?
I'm also doing pretty well, Jorasar. We're going to be getting into DeParture versus Bunny in just a couple seconds, as we've heard, and this is going to be a really cool series, and we have the maps going to be coming up once again. We'll actually be able to show you what the maps look like here.
There you go. So Stefano will be able to get
there we go.
His head in. Of course, we all know what Coda looks like. Terraform will be the second, and a decider, if required, on Iron Fortress. Now, I think the guys were mentioning a little bit. I suspect we're going to be seeing an awful lot of Coda this weekend, and I think the reasoning there is simple. The new maps, to be honest, people just haven't been playing on them nearly as often as quite a lot of the old ones. And I think we'll see Coda first or second in almost all our best of 3s today.
The thing is also, of the maps last season, Coda was the most popular. So it's not only one that they've been playing on more, that they're more familiar with, but it's also the one that was considered the best in the last map pool. It's considered the most balanced and most normal in this map pool as well. I would be very surprised if we saw Coda vetoed out of any of these series. Unless people have really weird plans on other maps.
No, it's going through a kind of Belshir vestige
kind of
phase,
yeah, like a Daybreak phase, right? Like,
oh God, can you imagine if Daybreak came back now?
Oh God, please
That'd
no.
Be great. Zelnaga Caverns, Dream Pool.
Please, we don't talk about the Dream Pool anymore.
That map made me love Siege Tanks. That map is solely responsible. Guys, the first map's going to be Coda, Bunny versus DeParture. Now, of course, Bunny, Richard tipping to win the entire thing. DeParture, all 3 of the casters tipping as the dark horse here.
Yeah, we all agreed. We all had True as the winner, DeParture as the dark horse. We didn't actually plan that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were all asked independently, by the way. We didn't all sit down in a room and sort of planned out our responses. We were each asked separately, and it's interesting that all 3 casters have agreed across the board. DeParture, though, I think, a player that people might not have seen on camera as much, but he has made appearances and recently been doing quite well, even though they're one-off games in Pro League. I mean, he's beaten some really, really top names sort of last season and this season as well.
Yeah, this season especially. Last season he had some appearances, but we're going to be popping on into the game here, and we can talk about DeParture in just a little while. But first, we're going to introduce our 2 players. Take it away, Jorasar.
All right, so we are here on Coda, ladies and gents, and spawning in the bottom right-hand position as the blue Zerg player representing Team MVP. Is he the dark horse here of the tournament? It is, of course, DeParture. And he'll be playing against fan favorite, winner of Gfinity G3, spawning in the top left position as the red Terran player representing Team Liquid. It is, of course, Bunny.
All right, so just a little bit more on DeParture. As you mentioned, he's been playing in Pro League. He's become a little bit more of one of the mainstays for MVP over the last couple of rounds.
Yeah.
He played last season for Prime, didn't win a single game. However, this season, he's really seemed to find his form a little bit, and he beat CJ Hero with the very new style of the double Roach War, and he was one of the first players to actually utilize that play on this map. And just, I think it was last week or the week before, he took out Flash to secure a win for MVP over KT Rollster.
Yeah, the week before, and I mean, that's a major victory for
And it
MVP.
was a really good game as well. We saw Bio out of Flash, which is, I don't think, what we're going to see out of Bunny, but DeParture really showing that he can manage himself in high-pressure situations, which has statistically been what he's historically been what his issue's been, because he's been around for near on 5 years now, and nobody knows who he is, because this is only his 2nd weekend tournament ever. He qualified for the Taiwanese Esports Open last year, and lost it in the first round against Ian from Taiwan, so he's never had a good appearance in a Premier tournament.
And now, I think you really hit the nail on the head there with DeParture. It's finding, he's obviously got the raw skill. He's got the talent to be able to walk away from this tournament making a really, really deep run. But the question remains whether he can string those performances together while under pressure. And like you said, it's his second weekend tournament. He's been doing really well in Pro League, but that kind of thing, especially in that Team League format, is just such a different environment. And then, of course, we have Bunny. We didn't get, we only had Richard, of course, picking him out of all 7 of us, I think it is. But the point is, he's always going to be a really strong competitor. And he's acknowledged that his performances weren't that great last time around. He's got so much incentive to bounce back, exactly like the analyst has said, and try and go as deep as he can in this tournament as well. So he's really focused. There are fewer players here. It's going to be easier for him to prepare specific matchups. So I'm really excited to see what he's doing here as well.
Now, just speaking a little bit about the game, this is already looking relatively favorable as far as early game openings go for DeParture. We're seeing a multiple Reaper opening from Bunny. Sometimes we see 2, but it's usually going to be 3. And DeParture opened with a pool first, so there's already a Queen out to deal with this. And when you go 3 Reapers, you really do want to try to get a little bit of damage done. 1 Reaper, you don't need to do anything. You just need to scout around. But with 3, you really do want to try to get some damage done. It doesn't have to be right now, but he's going to at least want to start poking away at those Queens to try to get some damage done, and maybe at least a couple of Queen kills when those Hellions come to meet up with the Reapers later on.
Now, Bunny's reasonably confident he can get that damage done, though. He did pop up with the first Reaper. He saw the Queen and had the option to cancel the 3rd Reaper or try and do something else with that gas if he wanted to. He's going for it anyway. Like you said, we'll be able to meet up with the Hellions a bit later on. So, first couple now moving into the natural, forcing a build of a Spore Coil there. In fact, grabbing a gas for good measure, hopping up into the main 2. He'll get a couple of Zerglings maybe for his trouble. No, he gets a drone. Very well done there.
Good save there by DeParture in the end. It's really annoying when you have full saturation on your main, because you're just going to rally your hatchery down to the natural, and every now and then you just don't think about the drones that are going to be transferring. You just think about, oh yeah, I'll just make a spore if they get attacked, and then you catch them off creep like that, and there's nothing you can do. So Bunny grabbing 1 drone kill already. He can be a little bit happy with that, but the big question is going to be how much damage can he do to these Queens? It looks like he's actually going to go for the mineral line again, and he's going to lose 1 of the Reapers for a drone.
That positioning was really good from DeParture. They're anticipating the Reapers coming in from the bottom. The Queens basically they surrounded the Reapers by the time they got in, and one of them was already on about 10 health before the Zerglings managed to take a poke in there. Now that said, Bunny still got good value for money though, because he managed to pick off another couple of workers in that attack.
So what this means, losing the Reaper means that he's going to have a lot less opportunity to harass the creep Queens, to actually try to take out the Queens. You can really, Marine Lord likes to do this a lot, where you go for the Queens, your Hellions, and the Reapers. We're not going to see that out of Bunny. With 2 Reapers, it's harder to do. But he did get those 4 worker kills at the end of the day, which is really good value for that 1 Reaper, for sure. And he can be happy with that. And from now on, we have a 3rd CC for Bunny, already almost complete here. And DeParture, he's not massively far behind, but he's not going to be particularly happy with the way this has started. It's a mental battle that he's started to lose.
Yeah, Bunny is now, I mean, he's getting into the stride of things. He's playing things very, very calm from his point of view. He's going into that Banshee tech now. He's moving in with some Reapers and Hellions to continue to try and put a bit of pressure on it. Why not? The early game pressure here has been successful against the Zerg player, so he wants to make sure he can push his advantage as much as possible. Now he just really wants to be limiting the creep and maybe picking off the odd worker here or there.
It's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do with this Banshee. He can make a second one. There's no cloak on the way, though. So this can either go around the back, try to pick off some workers, or it can join up with the Reapers and the Hellions, and he can still try to do some damage to the Queens, try to pick off some stuff at the front. We're seeing a really fast Spire from DeParture, very standard kind of style. And now this is where it's going to be interesting to see what Bunny does as a follow-up. I think he just switched the factory to the tech lab, so it is going to be mech here out of Bunny. Kind of expected. And he can play mech. He doesn't enjoy it as much as people like Goody or Happy may, but he's more than willing to start using this style to take out the Zergs.
If we got Goody to a Gfinity, man.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Then, like,
hey, he did pretty well in the open bracket for IEM.
I'd like that. That would be really ace. I want to see a Goody come back. I'd love to see it at more offline tournaments. He went through a phase, I think, where it's like, oh, so much boring play. This is crazy. And then it's like, well, actually, when he strings together a bunch of good performances, Goody can pull a couple out of the bag as well.
Well, he may not be Goody, but Bunny's definitely doing some good work here with this Banshee. Starting off with another 4 kills, 8 worker kills thus far. He will lose that Banshee. Probably won't be able to get it out of there if DeParture's on top of things, but no cloak investment, just 100 gas, 200 minerals, 4 workers for that. Not the best thing in the world, but it's also not terrible. He scouts the Spire, gets the scan down there as well. This is going to be a very, very important couple of minutes for DeParture. He's going to get the mutas out. He's going to have a lot of map control. He's going to need to try to get something done with this. He hasn't identified that it's mech yet. So, he's following up with a Roach Warren, though. If he goes for a +1 Roach all-in off the back of this, this is something that really can do well against mech.
Yeah, I think DeParture might have inferred from the tech lab on the factory, but it would still be nice for him to get into the main base and see the additional factories go down. So from both players' points of view now, DeParture going to see if he can sneak in a bit of damage at the third, perhaps recognizing that Bunny's army isn't as large as he wants it to be yet. And I think for Bunny, it's just going to be a case of making sure that this kind of damage doesn't do a lot of workers. He's got, oh, actually, 4 Helling should, question mark, be enough to fend this off.
Good micro from DeParture to send a couple of those Zerglings back into the mineral line, picking off 3, not quite 4, 3 workers. I almost would have liked for him to just go for the missile turret, then use the mutas to do a lot of damage. Later, but with those 4 Vikings, I think this was the right decision out of DeParture. And he's doing some more damage here in the natural. The mutas, I think, are trying to do some damage, picking off the worker that's building at that missile turret. Now, is he just going to sack the mutas for workers? I would almost like that with the Roach follow-up, but he is going for the units here. The Roach follow-up is underway. He's already started producing a bunch of them, and it looks like it is going to be that +1 Roach hull in that I was talking about. And he's going to need to get a lot of damage done here, but with the Thors on the way, this is huge. Bunny has no Banshees out right now. He's getting 1. No tanks out right now. He's getting 1. But if these Roaches hit before he gets to a good number of tanks or Banshees, this can do a lot of damage.
And those mutas are actually going to find a little bit of trouble doing much more harassment here because the Vikings were just doing such a good job of tracking them around. Bunny now moving around to see if he can get some damage of his own done. And both players just macroing up through the harassment. DeParture in the early game, despite losing those workers to the Reaper, managed just to continue droning up and he was fine.
Oh,
Bunny similarly with the Zerglings as well, but the attack is incoming and both sides still doing harassment damage to each other, but DeParture now looking.
Bunny doesn't have anything. There's 2 Thors in the middle of the map. These are dead, and this is almost his entire army. Bunny has only got 1 tank, 1 Banshee, and now no more Thors. This is looking disastrous already.
That tank's really close to the front there as well. That's going to go down. And was Bunny just not anticipating this? I mean, he did a good amount of harassment there. The second tank's doing a great job on the high ground, but look at how many Roaches are left, Penguin.
All you have to do is just reinforce the Roaches into the third base, pick off the mining there. The tank's dead at the top of the ramp here, and Bunny is struggling. He's already down by 70 supply, and this is not what he was expecting at all.
I mean, he's still doing worker damage, great, but unfortunately his production facilities are now being camped out. And yes, okay, you have a Banshee dealing damage that can't be answered here, but look at how slowly it's going to be able to kill all of these Roaches. Bunny down to 68 supply versus 150. He just wasn't expecting this at all, and this is going to be deflating for our Terran player here.
I mean, the worker count is still even for now, but the fact is, if you look at the army supply, it's 21 against 107.
Yeah.
Zerglings coming in as well. This is going to allow him to really be even more annoying for the Banshees. Zerglings are killed even slower than Roaches almost. And at this point, it looks like Bunny's almost out of this. There's nothing he can do. His production's being camped. His third is gone. The mineral line of the Natural's being ransacked. 62 workers killed. And this is looking to be it. GG is called, and DeParture takes game number 1.
That's going to be rough for Bunny there. I mean, we were chatting to him earlier on this morning, actually, and he was talking about building up more of his games against Zerg as mech as well, and he was actually feeling reasonably good about it. So I hope that that's the kind of thing where he's able to realize, well, actually, that was arguably a small mistake. We need to make a couple of tweaks here and there, being able to scout that the Roaches were in production and coming, for example, or maybe when we had that first Thor to fend off the mutas with the Vikings, if that first Thor might have been an extra tank or 2, for example, when the initial wave of Roaches hit, that would have made such a big difference, wouldn't it?
I think the biggest problem for Bunny is that a lot of players, when they open mutas and go into Roaches like that, they will make 11, 12 mutas to try to have something to Magic Box Thors, pick off tanks during the fight. They want to have the mutas available to use in the fight. But DeParture didn't do that. He made 7, and then he went straight into the Roaches. And he started pushing out across the map before Roach Speed was even done.
Yeah,
Roach Speed hit when he hit. So that was, I think, maybe a solid minute even faster than what Bunny would have expected. And he started the tank production. You really want to have at least 2 out there at the natural to be able to fend that off at the very least. He had only 1 with the second one in production. So I think even if Bunny realized what was coming, I think he just didn't expect it to hit that fast. And it's a very tight timing for DeParture to hit. He hit it perfectly and just took advantage of Bunny's lack of tanks.
It's really difficult as well as a Terran player in that situation to read it. I mean, seeing that, oh, you have 7 mutas instead of like 10 or 11, for example, can get a bit tricky, especially when you're just winning that battle and you realize, oh, that's great. my opponent's coming in. I've got my Vikings to zone him, but I got a couple of great hits off with the Thors. I'm doing okay moving into the latter half of this game, but like you said, behind it, DeParture was preparing for that push. So he takes it on Coda, and we're now going to be moving into Terraform and, of course, Iron Fortress if a third map is required.
Now, this interests me a lot because I personally feel that Terraform is not very good for mech. It's a bit split, though, and I was telling this to Bunny yesterday. I was like, yeah, I was talking about the fantasy versus true games from Asus ROG.
Sure. And
I mentioned, yeah, I don't think Terraform is very good for mech. And he laughed a bit and he said, oh, just wait. So maybe Bunny has something planned for this map, and we'll be able to see what he's going to be doing just about now. We're in the game, and let's switch on into the in-game view.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have in the top left position of the map on Terraform, the winner of game number 1, representing MVP with an excellent roach timing, very, very fast. Will he be able to catch his opponent off guard once more? It's DeParture. And he's playing against Team Liquid's very own hero, winner of the Gfinity G3 tournament in the bottom right-hand position, representing Team Liquid.net. It's Bunny.
Now, you talked a little bit last game about how Bunny really feels like he needs to bounce back after the last Gfinity performances, but I feel like he really needs to bounce back, not just Gfinity-wise, but he's had a really rough couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
He's been desperately searching for the WCS points. He's the highest-ranked foreigner at rank 18, which on paper looks like he has the best chance to hit BlizzCon, which is not true anymore because he was knocked out of WCS Season 3 in Challenger by Starbuck in this matchup. So he's really looking for something to build up his confidence a bit. He was looking for some WCS points at DreamHack Valencia, failed to do so, getting knocked out in the round of 32 by Serral, another Zerg player. So Bunny, he said that he doesn't feel bad in this matchup, but he really does want to get something done here at this tournament. A win over DeParture will be a great start to boost his confidence just a little bit.
It would. It's one of those things where when you're a player, I mean, not just in StarCraft, but any game where you're trying to switch up your level of play against a certain type of player, or in this case, against Zerg. And it's possible that for quite a while, you're not going to get those victories coming, even though you're changing up a lot of the little things in your play. And then suddenly something will click, and you'll start getting on the rails again. And I feel like that's where Bunny is at the moment. He's trying to find his feet in this TVZ matchup. And hopefully that doesn't deter him too much. We'll see if he ends up going for the same kind of strategy here on Terraform. To me, this map just always looked like Cinnamon Swirl. Like
I can see that.
I watch games on this map and I get hungry. That's basically what happens.
Well, you don't have a Nando's break after this. You're doing the next series too. So you're going to have to wait a bit, Jarsar. But I just want to talk a little bit about DeParture's opening here. He's going pool first again, but he's not doing the normal kind of pool first that you see people do. A lot of people, they'll go pool first and they'll want to make 4 or 6 lings, try to get some damage done, try to kill the SCV that's building the CC. Not DeParture. He is opening pure safety. He's just getting the queen. He doesn't want to take damage from Reapers, and that's what his goal is with this opening. And again, we have the Reaper opening from Bunny against a pool first, but this time, Bunny's only going 1 Reaper, so this is not going to be as much of a disadvantage as he was potentially facing in the last game.
Yeah, DeParture's not going to be happy with the way the start of the last game panned out. At the end of the day, he went pool first and he still lost 4 workers. I mean, that is substantial. So he doesn't know at the moment that Bunny isn't going for those 3 Reapers once again. He just wants to make sure he is as safe as possible so that when everything pops out, frankly, for the Zerg player, he loses no workers. And I wonder if that actually influenced his decision to potentially go for the roach timing in that last game, feeling like economically he was trying to get a point across to Bunny there.
I don't think it was so much economical. However, if your opponent opens 3 Reapers like that, it does slow down their tech, which could well have been a decision that one of the factors in his decision to go roaches, because if you go 3 Reapers, you're investing an additional 100 gas, which is going to delay your factory, it's going to delay your units. He's still going for the Hellions, so it's just eventually going to delay the tanks, which were very, very late, as we saw last time around. Ooh, Bunny gets the creep tumor, actually, so that was pretty nice control there on that Reaper.
Yeah, good little bit of clutch decision-making as well. You saw it go past, and he's trying to decide, actually, can I get away with taking this out? Instant calculation and good reactions there from our Terran player, just trying to stop that as much as possible. And he's already got Hellion production going, so just using that 1 Reaper on this particular game, just letting Bunny move through his tech a little bit faster.
Yeah, and we have a couple Marines poking around trying to find Overlords, but DeParture very smartly pulled back his... With his Overlord, he was able to identify that it was only a single Reaper opening because that means that the CC is earlier. Yeah. So he was able to pull back that Overlord because a lot of Terrans will follow that up with this 2 Reaper production after the reactor is done. So he pulls back the Overlord way earlier than most people tend to do, and as a result, it's safe on the high ground there, gets to watch that center line of sight blocker area to see when the Hellions are coming, and now he sees the Hellions moving across. He's going to be more than ready to deal with this. He's already got the Queens out at the front. We've got a lair coming down, a Baneling Nest coming down. Did he go Baneling Nest in the last game? I don't think he actually did.
No, there was no Baneling Nest in the last game. But both players, certainly DeParture feeling a lot more comfortable at this stage of the game. Bunny, he hasn't gotten that much more damage done. In fact, he hasn't gotten any damage done economically, unless you count the creep tumor there. But what he has managed to do is A, not lose anything, B, get through his tech stack a little bit faster as well. He's already starting Banshee production. He's going to be able to sneak in another creep tumor. Good snipe there by the Hellions.
And with this kind of a build, your main goal with the single Reaper, you don't want to do economic damage so much. Sure, if you can get some done, it's great. But you really just want to delay the creep. He sees the Spire here. We see another 2-base Muta opening coming out of DeParture. And this is just a very standard play from DeParture. All he's doing is he's playing safe, standard ZVT macro. He's got the Spine Crawl, he's got the Baneling Nest. The Baneling Nest, it's not for aggression, it's to deal with potential Hellbat pushes. We have an Armory on the way here. Overseer's not going to see it, but it will see that the factory's going back on the Tech Lab. So it's going to be almost definitely mech once again.
Yeah, and I like that Bunny hasn't been deterred by that game number 1. He's going to continue to try and make this work. Just making a couple of changes up in his play. He knows the Spire is coming. The Reaper died, but of course saw the Spire, saw the layer timing as well. So that's all been reasonably good for Bunny. And he's going to be doing his very best. I like that he's consistently taking out these creep tumors as well, just pausing to make sure he limits the expansion of the Zerg as much as possible.
Nice control by DeParture as well on the second creep tumor. He actually got a cancel, which keeps the earlier creep tumor active, but still very good stuff from Bunny. He's going to pop back in here. Again, no cloak on this Banshee. Just a single Banshee here. Helps defend against any really early Roach Bane aggression, as well as you can just get a little bit of damage done. And if he gets this out, which he will, he can repair it on up. It'll be a nice part of his army. We've got the Mutas coming on out from DeParture again, and this time, well, he's not going for Roaches. He's going double upgrades into an infestation pit immediately, which is probably going to mean fast Ultralisks, but we have seen some people utilize some Swarm Hosts.
Well, he's really, really bulking up his tech in the mid part of this game, waiting just until the Banshee leaves the base as well. And of course, DeParture knows that Bunny's Banshee is next to no health. He's going to have to go back and get repaired. So he knows that unless Bunny's about to drop a scan, and why would you straight after a Banshee leaves the base, it's going to be a while before Bunny sees these tech buildings go down. So cool move there by DeParture. The Muta's coming in to do a little bit of harassment now. Will get greeted by the missile turret. Second one as well. Looks like one of the Mutas are going to go down early there. Oopsie daisy.
Yeah, just a little bit sloppy here, but the Mutalisks are not really a main part of the army composition. This is not going to be a huge deal if the Mutas, if he loses 1 or 2 Mutas, because all they're here for is they're here to keep Bunny at home, keep Bunny on his toes, try to pick off a couple of workers here and there if possible, and also they're a really nice scouting tool. Just, I mean, the turrets can zone a bit, but wow, speaking of scouting, really nice scan there by Bunny, sees absolutely everything, but does he realize that this is actually going to be range attacks?
That is, yeah, that is the scout of all scouts there. I don't think the scan itself saw the Roach Warren that was going down. So do bear in mind that if there are any options for aggression here, there will be possible for DeParture to sort of launch some sort of timing, because at the end of the day, 1-1 Roaches are coming out. He's already got the Baneling Nest that, like you said, was originally for defensive purposes, but if he wanted to go aggressive, there's no reason he can't mix them in. He wouldn't normally, but he could.
I feel like the main thing we're probably going to see, if it's going to be aggression, which I think it will be, is we're going to see a big Roach Hydra Viper play, especially that scan on the double evolution chamber.
Yeah,
It's good scouting information. It's nice to know it's there. But the fact that he doesn't know there's a Roach Warren, Bunny is still having to play around in his mind. Is this fast Ultralisks? Is this a Roach Hydra Viper timing? And they both have very different responses as a mech player to what you need to do. Oh, and this is really cute from DeParture. Speaking about offensive Banelings,
well, there we go. They're going to be making a solo appearance here, and Owen Bunny not able to see them in time. Loses 12 workers to that. That is not something he's going to be happy with at all. He's defending the front really well, but good little sneaky bit of harassment there from DeParture. So that lowers the worker count for Bunny to 62. He'll be able to get that up ASAP. DeParture, of course, already on 72 and taking his 4th.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting moment in this TVZ. Now, DeParture, he could play passive with this Roach Hydra Viper, but it's not generally something you want to do, because you want to be, if you're playing late game, you don't want to be doing it with Roach Hydra Viper. You want to be doing it with Ultralisks and Broodlords and all the units under the sun pretty much against mech. But now I'm really interested to see where Bunny takes his 4th, and he's going to the gold. This is going to be interesting because he's going to get more money from this, but he's also expanding away from his opponent. So it's looking like he wants to play more defensively rather than aggressively.
Yeah, and I mean, that plays, of course, into the mech style composition. I also wonder if part of that decision is influenced by the fact that he's lost a bunch of workers as well. A little bit of harassment going on in the 4th base of DeParture right now. A little bit of barbecuing by the looks of things. And that's going to very quickly get thwarted. Oh, he might... No, he's absolutely not going to get any of that army. But he does manage to escape at least with 2 of the Hellions. Number of workers killed there, 6 from Bunny.
Bunny not quite happy with the cheeky Nandos, opting for some Korean barbecue instead for lunch here. And you
guys can't see my face cam off camera, but trust me, it's there.
Well, we do have the defensive planetaries coming on down now. This is where it gets really interesting in this game. And some people find this boring. I find it really interesting to see from the Zerg perspective what the Zerg does. And the reason why I find this interesting is because when it gets to this stage, when you start to get the defensive planetary fortresses, this is where I start to rip my hair out and never win a game. So I love to see what they do to try to win. So
this is, I mean, there's a very fundamental choice that both players have to make here as we see Hellions being donated by the looks of things to a rather charitable cause. They are going to... Mutas and Hydras, I guess, are somewhat needy. And like you say, the Planetary Fortress comes down, big mech army, and wow, that's a lot of Hydralisks as well. They're going to be very squishy to the siege tanks if they get in range. Need to be a little careful there as this first battle commences.
Man, this is actually not trading too terribly. A lot of the tanks are out of range. You can try to focus down that Planetary Fortress. There's not a ton of auxiliary orbitals just yet, but DeParture is warded off, and this is a bad trade for him since he did not get that Planetary Fortress.
Now, moving sort of into the bigger picture strategy here, DeParture's about to max out. Bunny is at 160, 170 supply, so he's starting to feel comfortable with the size of his mech army. We have 2 options. You can either go through the middle here. Bunny looks like he's setting up to cover both at the moment, or the players can sort of move through the Planetary Fortress and sort of go up north. Which would you be expecting Bunny to do in this position? Because otherwise you just get situations where the armies sort of pass each other and things start getting really messy.
I feel like the best option for DeParture right now is to just take all the bases that he can, sit back, and maybe try to get a couple of run-bys into the 3rd base. Yeah. There's another CC there, but I'm not sure if it's a planetary, and I doubt it is. Yeah, he's just building it right now, so he could get some damage done in there. Tunneling Claws Roaches might be a cool idea, but there are missile turrets there for detection. I feel like DeParture's best chance, though, is if he goes into the late game, get some more later tech units. He has the Hive already. Add on a Greater Spire, add on an Ultralisk Cavern, but we've got some more barbecue going down here in the 3rd.
That's right. Now, DeParture was already on 80 workers, so yes, this is going to get some economic damage done, but it's taking him down to 72 right now, and even if these 2 Hellions pick off a couple more drones, it's not the worst news in the world. Another round of drones is coming in for the Zerg. So the player's doing exactly what they did last game. Yes, I'm suffering from some harassment damage, but as long as I keep macroing up behind it, it will be okay. It's just a minor nuisance at this point.
Now this is really nice, because Bunny's done us a bit of a favor here, because by killing all of those drones, we get to look into DeParture's mind and see if he's going to be aggressive or passive. And he opted to, instead of making more army supply to get a bigger army, he made the drones again, which means he wants to build as big a bank as possible. He wants to get into as good a late game position as possible. And of course, with this army, he's maxed out, but it's roaches. It's not really the kind of army that's super scary. And with this wall off down here, DeParture's doing what he needs to do. He's going to try to find a couple of entrances, see if he can get some damage done. But if he can't, he's just going to sit back. He's going to get a giant bank. Still no Greater Spire, still no Ultralisk Cavern, so it looks like he's happy to stay on this composition, which is a bit reminiscent of a game from Ace's ROG that we saw between True and Fantasy, where we saw Fantasy just run around, or True rather, just run around with Roach Hydra Viper the whole game, picking off buildings here and there. But Bunny, he's in a much better defensive position, and he's now adding on the Fusion Core, additional starports, and we're going to see that Sky Terran switch.
Yeah, and you need to be... Oh, hang on a second. It looks like a big fight might be about to occur. Is he going to try and pick off the Planetary Fortress there at the goal? The SCVs are going to have to come into repair very soon. It's already below half health, but he's got the full repair going. The siege tanks are providing an awful lot of covering fire, and I gotta say, Stefan, I'm not sure I like that engagement for DeParture at all in the end.
Even at the end there, that Thor was on such low health. DeParture, for a second, he turned his army around to try to pick off the Thor, but he didn't kill it, turned around again, took some extra shots, lost 4 or 5 extra units, and it's just not good for him.
We need a bit of repair from Bunny, though, but that can come sort of any time in the next minute or two.
Yeah, I mean, at this point as well, he's not really too remiss to lose those units because he wants to remax on the battle cruisers. He wants to maybe move into some Ravens. We've got a lot of Mutalisks coming out of DeParture, and this is a really good way to deal with what Bunny currently has, but as soon as we have the battle cruisers hitting the field, battle cruisers do exceptionally well against Mutas because the high armor just makes it so that the Mutas don't do any damage to them.
Exactly. Bounce Glaive is effectively useless. Mutas, I mean, mutas are just annoying little flying insects to battlecruisers, to be perfectly honest.
I do love this, though, from DeParture. He's just clumping the mutas. He's waiting. He knows he has, like, Bunny knows he has 4 or 5 mutas, so even if he sees 1 or 2, it doesn't look particularly like it's going to be a giant muta cloud. And now he comes in, he's going to try to come in, magic box over the Thors, try to pick off what he can. I just worry that it's a little bit too late. We've got some Vikings, more importantly, mass turrets, and a lot of Thors.
Wow, that is quite a lot here. And the missile turrets are actually very close to going up next to the planetary as well, which means mutas won't be able to get the economic damage in, and their numbers are starting to thin out here. The Thors have done their job for Bunny, still on 196 supply and holding station with this transition to Sky Terran. This is a really nervous time for the Terran player, even though Bunny, by the way, has held this so well, because he has to make sure he holds off every Zerg attack, and there's another sneaky one coming in now.
Oh, but that's a planetary now. That building command center was not what's used to float up to the 4th base, but we may see the CC go down at the top right, which is going to be a little bit of a win here for DeParture. Just talking about that muta attack for DeParture a bit, I'm not really sure if I'm a fan of what he did there, because he kind of had a half measure. He didn't wait till he had a giant mutalist cloud, but he invested so much in the mutas that he had a decently sized one, but it wasn't big enough to really do any damage. If you want to go with a big muta cloud, I feel like you need to go with 40, 50 mutas, lose all your ground army, remax on mutas, and then go. But he is still finding a little bit of damage here, picking up a couple tanks, and, well, not bad at all. He's getting as much done as he can. Still not a great resource trade there. He's lost a lot more than his opponent has, but here come the Ultras, and this is going to be interesting to see how these fare.
Now, I feel like we're waiting to see now when Bunny feels comfortable moving out with this kind of composition. I like the fact that DeParture's waiting for Bunny to see the mutas. He sees more Vikings than he did last time around, and now he's switching it up to Ultras to try and catch Bunny's composition a little bit off guard here. Bunny doesn't have a bank, remember. His army is incredibly, incredibly expensive, but he has got a maxed out mech army. He's sacking SCVs. Now that, or it's just very, very expensive.
No,
Scout.
this is where, this is basically, at this point as the Zerg player, this is where your heart sinks. This is where you're like, oh, okay, he's at the point where he doesn't feel like he actually needs money anymore.
I've killed 23 workers, guys. I'm doing great in this game is not what DeParture's thinking right
and
now.
This positioning here, he might be able to attack into the gold base, maybe, but all the other ones, he can't go through the south because there's a full wall off there with a PF. That's not going to be a good engagement point for the Ultralisks. On the other side, trying to go around into the 3rd, first of all, it's going to be seen through that sensor tower range, and then also, there's another PF there, so it's going to be really difficult for him to get any damage done. The Roaches, though, coming around, and this is a nice move. I really like this out of DeParture.
I think in the medium term, from this point in the game, DeParture has to be prepared for what Bunny has to do, but I don't actually think DeParture has to be that aggressive, because at the end of the day, Bunny took his gold. He's going to be mining out that gold a lot faster, right, than his opponent, and he doesn't have a bank the way that DeParture has. So DeParture can afford to basically wait for a good opportunity to pick off a base, and picking off a base hurts Bunny a lot right now, but picking off a base for DeParture doesn't really hurt him that much. So it's a weird little balance we find ourselves in.
It really is, especially because DeParture, like you said, he doesn't necessarily want to be getting so aggressive because there's such a good defensive posture from Bunny. However, if he waits too long, Bunny gets up to that quote-unquote unkillable army, and then a lot of Zerg players...
Wait, he plays Protoss?
No, but a lot of Zerg players don't feel comfortable, even if it's not technically unkillable. They feel like they're not capable of killing it, and that is very, very difficult to deal with as a Zerg player. He's got a nice army, a lot of Queens, a lot of Ultras. He's going to really need to be utilizing those Queens as anti-air, though, kind of, because he just doesn't really have anything against the battlecruisers, and the Ultras, they'll eat up the ground. But I think what DeParture is looking for is Bunny to move out. He sacks that army to crush the ground, and then remaxes on Corruptors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's the remax, to be honest, that would win DeParture that game, because Bunny doesn't have the bank for him to be able to remax something like that. And yay! We're going to see cool upgrades coming in. I want to see Neurals on battlecruisers, man.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit in the GSL yesterday. Life tried to utilize it against Byung. Didn't really go his way. He lost 1-4 in total because he had to play Byung twice, and not great for Life. But we saw some cool plays, and he did go for those Neurals on the battlecruisers. And we'll see if DeParture is able to do a little bit better. Bunny,
I miss Neural, man. I miss my Neural Archon toilets from way back when.
Man,
it's like,
when Neural had 9 range.
You know, that was the last time we regularly saw Neural, I think.
Yeah, it really was.
Game. So it's cool that we're coming full circle now. I'm not just talking about 2011, 2012 for the sake of it, but this could end up being really sick.
Look at that BC count, though. It's really interesting. Since the Raven nerf, a lot of people were thinking that the Raven nerf was essentially a non-issue because the PDD still lasts 20 seconds, which is essentially a full fight. You're still going to get a full fight out of the PDD. But the fact that the PDD doesn't actually stay there after the fight anymore has made it so that a lot of Terran players have moved away from making the Ravens. So now we're just sitting on giant battle cruiser forces with a couple Thors on the ground.
Well, part of it as well that perhaps doesn't get discussed quite as much is even though you have a spent PDD, for example, it is useful that it just sits there and scouts the area.
No, but it still regenerates energy.
Yeah, a lot of the time you have those PDDs, I guess, auto turrets, or anything that just hangs in one area for a long time. You're trying to defend 3 pathways at once, and it's nice to know where the Zerg is going. So now that things last 20 seconds, it makes it a little more difficult to do that. And you see Bunny constantly burning scans to just make sure he knows exactly where the army is. And it looks like DeParture now, just poking and prodding. This isn't a commitment to a full move yet.
No, DeParture's trying. Right now, he's posturing his army such that he wants to maintain his creep spread, because Bunny's not looking to move out, I don't think. This is more Bunny posturing to pick off the creep. So DeParture, if Bunny moves a little bit too far on creep to try to pick off the creep, or a little bit too far out of position, this is what happens. He's able to move through that choke. He's not in as bad a position as he would have been, but the Queens are blocking some of the Ultralisks. The Queens are not the great anti-air that you need against this. Yamato cannon's going off on everything, and Bunny takes a very good fight. The Ultras can't escape. A lot of the Queens are gone. There's no more transfuses.
You can't leave.
No, you can't. I mean, there's a big bank here for DeParture, but the thing is, he's also going to start mining out his side of the map. And this is really painful for him because now he doesn't know what he's making it. He hasn't started anything. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and Bunny is taking this opportunity to push on this base.
Yeah, and no bases were taken out by DeParture there, so in the meantime, Bunny's now starting to build a bank of his own, so he's at 2.5, 3K right now, and he's going to be feeling a little bit more confident moving out, and that's exactly what's happening. So he's moving out only with the siege tanks on the top there, so that he can try and deal with the battle cruisers, the infestors, trying to make life as difficult as they possibly can, but a couple of Yamato cannons into the face say no.
Yeah, they just didn't get anything done. We saw the neural, but we didn't see the effect of it, because it didn't really kill anything. We have a scouting CC moving into the north base here, trying to see what it can do. Wanted to take that base. DeParture didn't already have it, but now that he knows it's there, he can move this ground army over. And the thing is, picking off the other base, picking off this base now, and sorting out, killing off this base in the top is such a nice trade for that ground army. He doesn't even necessarily need to care if he can maintain that ground army.
So let's go back to the situation you were talking about earlier. DeParture is remaxing on Corruptors, like you said before, but he's not remaxing on Corruptors after taking any sort of even vaguely cost-efficient fight here. He's just losing his army to a lot of these battlecruisers, and he's having to remax on Corruptors anyway. That means Bunny hasn't spent his bank, so this is less effective. How is this going to go? Is DeParture going to be able to make headway with this?
Not at all. The biggest thing with the Corruptor switch here is that he wanted to use that ground army of Ultralisks to crush through the ground army and to kill off the Thors in particular, because Corruptors, they smash BCs. BCs do not have fun against Corruptors. However, you throw in 3-4 Thors on the ground like Bunny has, the Corruptors naturally clump very, very close together, and the Corruptors are going to take so much damage from this if he doesn't pre-split. And even if he does pre-split, he has nothing to kill the Thors on the ground.
That's a lot of static D going down.
Yeah, is he going to leave these, or is he going to make more supply?
No,
he's going to make more supply.
We're going to see supply. He's like, oh, I need to defend against a battlecruiser. Not what's happening there, guys. DeParture going up to 215 supply. Bunny committing to attacking in the bottom, and that is when DeParture goes, right, now I'm hitting you at... is he hitting it at the top? No, that's Command Center flying away. Okay. But,
no, the thing about this, though, right? He's adding Broodlords to try to deal with the Thors. But if Bunny controls his Thors properly and his army properly, the Broodlords are not going to be able to get any shots off on the Thors.
It's also going to take a while for them all to get there as well. I mean, adding the Broodlords to this army, what that effectively means is that DeParture's army is as slow as Bunny's mech army, so he loses a little bit of that maneuverability, and they're going to have to go in for some sort of head-on fight.
Really smart here by Bunny to put up some static defense, because this is so many Corruptors that maybe they can chew through this battlecruiser army, and there's still a big bank there, so DeParture, he's definitely not out of this yet. But he needs to pre-split. He needs to pre-split those Corruptors. You can't keep them clumped like that over those Thors. Look at the shots from the Thors. They're doing so much damage. They're
doing so much damage, but Corruptors, being Corruptors, take about 3 billion years to die anyway, but that is quite a lot. Oh, man, they're clumping up again.
He's clumping again.
He can't clump like that. Oh, wow, that's a lot of Yamato. I haven't seen that in a while. The Corruptors are holding reasonably strong, but that's a lot of damage being done to them right now, and does DeParture really want to rematch with Corruptors a second time to defeat this?
He can't. But he can try
if he... I mean...
Man, I mean, he doesn't have the money.
Battle cruisers were lost there.
I think about 7 or 8. We've got 28 more Corruptors coming in here, but he's not even maxed out. And the problem is, he's made so many Corruptors now that this bank looks pretty decent, but it really isn't, because you want to kill off the air army, make a big ground switch, try to kill on in. He's getting a lot of Broodlords here, which are going to be very, very good, but the problem is the bank is gone. And it's not just like the bank is gone, I can sit back a bit and get it again. He's mining out of his gas geysers.
So the thing that's... but I reckon this is a big swing point to the game, because the Broodlords from DeParture means that he's committing to basically being less mobile than he was before, right? So if Bunny is able to take the 12 o'clock base, which we can see re-spreading the creep there to stop Bunny from taking that, if Bunny starts taking that and mining minerals again, then all of a sudden, DeParture is going to be at an income disadvantage while so much of Bunny's army is down south and threatening the 6 o'clock. DeParture is going to have to think so much about how he splits his army, and splitting your army against mech is just such a difficult thing to do.
It really is. DeParture... He's not in a terrible spot here just because the mineral income of Bunny is so stymied. Bunny needs that base or the one down to the south. He needs one of those two bases, but here we have another fight going on. Oh, we have a massive siege tank move out here to pick off this base, and generally I would like this because it's getting rid of the siege tanks, but he doesn't have the money to remax off of that, so I don't know if it's necessarily the right decision. We've got some Ravens coming in now with the gas.
It's a classic
bank.
8 siege tank harass in the bottom here, but he needs to deal with this air arm. If he deals with this air army once, then the damage that he's done with his siege tanks are going to be so monumental. The Corruptors, of course, can do nothing but watch at the moment, and this is a great pick-off of a base. He does want to keep those tanks alive, though. He doesn't just want to lose them.
Well, I mean, +3/+3 tanks, they don't really care about Zerglings, so Zerglings generally pretty good against tanks, but these tanks are killing them off pretty quickly, and the tanks are doing a lot more damage than I anticipated just because there's nothing there. You're
I think
right.
the air is coming back. The Broodlords are coming back to deal with it. There's the Corruptors, the Broodlords, very, very slow. Look at how much damage the tanks are doing in the meantime, though. They're killing off so... I did not think they would do this much damage.
Neither did I, and the Zergling Remax is just not doing what they need to. I don't think there's adrenal glands research. The Corruptors are sitting there wishing they can shoot down. The Broodlords are so slow. They're slower even than the tanks. The tanks picking off the 6 o'clock base, picking off the 7 o'clock base, going in for this base, which isn't really all that important, but they're getting a little more damage.
This is exactly what I was saying earlier about the Broodlord switch for the Zerg, really making their army that much slower. Look at this. All of a sudden, guys, we're in a mech game where the non-Terran player is slower to react than the meching player just because of their army movement there. Those Broodlords really weighing DeParture down a lot. He's trying to remax at the moment, but you know what? He's gas-starved now.
Yeah, and Bunny is mineral-starved. You talked about this, but it's a lot less big of a deal when you actually have a mineral mining base or two. We can even see the unsaturated bases have some mineral patches that he can still drop some mules on, and he can use the giant gas bank he has to make Ravens. The Ravens aren't coming out because they're the best possible unit. Ravens are coming out because they're good units, and he has a ton of gas left over. They work really, really well as an auxiliary unit to these battle cruisers and or a supplementary unit to the battle cruisers and the Thors. The PDD is still pretty good. You can even try to use the oh wow, he's gonna get it. Wow,
Nice.
that Thor.
That very, very good hero Thor there, managing to pick off that base, and that's really, really big at this point in the game because the battle is going to be around these bases in the middle of the map. Now, the 6 o'clock has been mined extensively. This base we can see the players fighting over now is more or less full. A lot of Yamato's going down to start off the fight. So many Corruptors here, and here come the Ravens. Are they going to be able to make much more of a contribution? Oh my god!
Gigantic missile hits, and they're trying to pick off the rest of these Corruptors with the Thors on the ground. There's just nothing left here for DeParture as far as the air army goes. I mean, there's a couple Corruptors there, but they all have single-digit health by the looks of it.
And they can't run because the Broodlords are so much slower. The Corruptors have to cover them as well. That was more explosion damage than in the... I mean, that's a lot of DPS that was done on those Corruptors. And yeah, he saved a reasonable amount of them, but... He's not attacking into Bunny's army anytime soon. Bunny is going to be able to comfortably mine from that 4 o'clock base, which is really what's important to him right now.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but they're both on even supply. Even army supply is even. They must have traded pretty evenly there. And yes, on paper, they traded pretty okay. But if we take a look at the actual unit tab here, looking at the unit tab, there's just nothing that kills the ground army. A lot of the air army for Bunny went down. He doesn't have much in the way of an air army anymore. But DeParture doesn't have the bank to make things that kill the things on the ground. The Thors, the tanks. I don't think there's any tanks left, but there's a good number of Thors here. What's he gonna do to kill those?
I really don't know at this point. I mean, he's making 16 Lings and a couple of Corruptors right now. So that to me says that he's not trying to engage the army head on. He's trying to use the Lings to sort of swing around and pick off workers at mining bases and stuff like that, which is fair enough. Another battle going down here in the 4 o'clock position. I think DeParture just knows how important this base is to Bunny. And it's only an orbital command as well, so very, very squishy compared to a PF.
Yeah, I mean... he's transfusing up these Corruptors, so they now have a decent amount of health again, which is nice by him. And DeParture's doing very well to maintain even supply, but He's doing what Sue did in some Pro League games, became a little bit infamous because Sue got massive leads at some points and just made nothing but corruptors, and even though he looked ahead, there was no way for him to kill the ground army, and that's what we're seeing out of DeParture. He's used a lot of his minerals on these queens, which is nice if he can land enough transfuses to keep the Broodlords alive. But the problem is, if Yamatos go off on the Broodlords, there's no saving them, and one of them goes down right there to the Vikings.
Very, very nice. Good little bit of back and forth there with the Vikings from Bunny, preventing the initiate there from DeParture too, and he's slowly pushing towards the 6 o'clock base. Now, this isn't a mining base anymore from DeParture. He doesn't have a hatchery there right now, guys. So that's going to be less important to him than the base up north. It is going to take Bunny quite a while to go up there, so I feel like he's going to be sweeping in from the southern half of the Cinnamon Bun.
Yeah, we have a couple infestors coming out, which is nice, but oh god, these Hellions are just going to roast whatever there is here, and this looks like it's not a big deal because there's not many workers there, but the reason there's not many workers there is because there's just not many workers. He's down to just 33 workers, going up to 40 now, but these Hellions, they can camp this gas geyser that covers about half of the mineral patches as well, and it's going to be very difficult for him to deal with
Bunny
this.
might consider moving out. His scan sees, by the way, the Corruptors have moved towards the top of the map.
Oh, these Lings. I mean, Lings, they're so cheap that usually they don't matter, but every bit of minerals counts at this important part of the game. And those Hellions, they only killed one Hellion. There's still 3 Hellions, and that's more than enough to one-shot drones with Blue Flame. Oh, man,
Couple
Yamato.
more Yamatos. I like that Bunny is using the energy on those Yamatos, though. You might be thinking, well, hang on a second. Don't you want to be just hitting the hard-hitting units like the Broodlords, right, that have a lot of hit points? But thinning out the Corruptors so that they don't pose a problem, I think, is a big, big deal at the moment.
And a big thing about Yamato as well is that once you start the Yamato, you can't outrun the Yamato like you can outrun the Seeker Missile.
Once it starts, you cannot stop.
Well, exactly. Like, once the unit has the Yamato on it, it's going to get hit by the Yamato, which means unless it's an Ultralisk or maybe a Broodlord, I don't know if it one-shots Broodlords, it's going to die otherwise.
Well, you know, you could, like, one-shot the BC in the meantime, I guess.
Look at this. Look, see, the Infestor tries to run, the Yamato hits it, like 20 range. Because there's no range limit on how far it can go.
Easy, you just have to kill the battlecruiser. Said no Zerg ever.
I mean, BCs with Corruptors, generally speaking, that's not a problem. But at this point of the game, DeParture's lost almost 70,000, maybe more than 70,000 resources.
Now, the 12 o'clock base is no longer mining for the Zerg once again. Bunny just continuing to push in, being very, very methodical with his approach, just trying to starve DeParture at the moment. Both players not having that much in terms of bank anymore.
Thinking about what DeParture's being forced to do here, he's being forced to expose forced to expose the Broodlords to pick off free units. And now what we have here in this upgrade in the production, I don't actually know what this upgrade is called, but what it does is it extends the life of the missile turrets, or not the missile turrets, sorry, the auto turrets on the ground.
This is oh, I can't remember the last time we saw the durable materials.
Durable materials, that's what it's called.
I actually, when it first came up, I didn't recognize the logo. I knew the name durable materials, and I was like, oh, that's what it looks like. I haven't seen it in forever, but we are going to see an auto turret push by the looks of things. And there's just not much on the ground to deal with these auto turrets. It's pretty hilarious right now. A lot of air going down, trying to get a couple more kills on the Terran side of things, but DeParture just not really making any inroads, and he's down 30 supply and not resupplying.
And the thing is, you can't posture against BCs like this. Like, a lot of the, like against ground mech, you see a lot of people just posturing and trying to get into a good position, but you can't do that against the BCs. Every time you try to take a good position, you're gonna lose 3 or 4 units to the Yamatos. So that's become so difficult to actually engage against this, because you can't do what you can do against Thors. You can try to set up 3 or 4 times until you get the best engagement. You can't do that against battlecruisers.
Yeah, and the run-bys just aren't doing anything for DeParture as well. He's like, oh, well, the army's up here. Let me send some Lings down here. You can't send Lings up there when you've got... I mean, there was a Thor and a couple of Hellions defending, and at this stage of the game with 3-3 upgrades, that ain't going to do anything. DeParture now possibly on the ropes. He's down to basically no workers.
We'll see what the transfuses can do, but they can't do more than the Seeker missiles here. Half the supply for DeParture. He has no economy. He has no bank. If he loses this army, he is out of this game. And the Queens are holding strong, doing some good transfuses. But look at those Seeker missiles landing on the Corruptors. Bunny is being routed for now, but you can't chase Queens off creep. You just can't chase after this army.
Yep, that's the plan. And the great kiting. There's still so many Thors alive. And the Corruptors, I think, wow, there's only 3 of them left, and 4, but they're being transfused really, really well. Bunny is able to move back a little bit. He's got a tiny bank at the moment, about 1,600, but I feel like this is getting quite desperate for DeParture, because yes, he can push Bunny back here, but he's not exactly going to be winning the game with 10 queens and nothing else, for example.
He's not in a position where he can push it back and buy time to build something, because he doesn't have anything to build things with. He's not mining minerals. GG is called, and Bunny will tie up the series 1-1 here on Terraform. Really nice play out of our Foreign Hope there.
Yeah, that was that was a pretty epic mech game, and like we said at the end of the first game, really, Bunny recognizing that, okay, I fell to a bit of a timing there in game number 1, a little bit gimmicky. That roach attack hit so early compared to what you're normally used to. Let's change up a couple of things. I'll go for the one Reaper, get my tech stack up just a bit faster.
Looks pretty happy with himself there, giving himself
Bunny
a bit of a giggle.
Smiling away, man. He's happy he won that game, and I think that does a lot to boost Bunny's confidence as well.
It does.
He was talking about the mech. He's now got a win on the board against a very strong player as well. DeParture, he kind of has the same facial expression, win or lose, actually. He's a very poker face kind of player.
He is. And I'm really interested, just to talk a bit about the actual map that's coming up, I'm really interested to see what comes in Iron Fortress, because on the one hand, Iron Fortress is a really big map. If you spawn in cross, it's like, oh yeah, you have a lot of bases to take as the Zerg. Even if you don't spawn in crosses, tons of bases. You're not going to be in as desperate a position as DeParture was last game, where he only had 5 or 6 bases to take. On Iron Fortress, you can take tons of them, get a huge bank. And, well, we'll be seeing what Bunny can do, but we're going to kick it to a quick break here.
Yeah, that's right, guys. That was a pretty long game number 2. We're going to hop into a quick break just for a minute or two. The players are going to take a quick bathroom break potentially for themselves and get ready for the deciding match between Liquid Bunny and MVP's DeParture. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Gfinity Starcraft Masters. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hopping in a couple of minutes into Bunny versus DeParture. As confirmed, the players are using the opportunity of a break to sort of reset themselves ahead of Game 3. And we're going to be talking a little bit, I guess, about how Game 2 went and sort of what we might be able to expect on Iron Fortress.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. I was talking about this a bit before the break, where Iron Fortress is so large, as a 4-player map is, that we can see DeParture take a lot more bases than he did on Terraform. It's a lot more forgiving for the Zerg to tack over and over into a defensive mech player if you just have a bigger bank. But that being said, there's a lot more bases for Bunny to take. He can mine out, turtle a bit, slowly move to the next base, set up a turtle position there, etc.
So I think a big turning point in that last game, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, of course you're the Zerg player here, but I really felt like the moment DeParture went for those first 6 or 7 Broodlords in Game 2, I felt like that was the point where DeParture stopped, for better or for worse, doing so much economical damage to Bunny, and I felt like he was just trying to ram a loggerhead into the main army quite a lot, and okay, he had 1 or 2 pretty good attacks, but none that made me think, oh wow, he's going to crush his mech army and start swarming in everywhere. So was that really the correct play from DeParture there?
I think the real issue that in DeParture's decision-making there was, we saw that engagement at the rocks by the line of sight blockers where the Ultralisks were choked up on the Queens. He needs to use those Ultras to take out the ground army, take out the mech on the ground, the Thors, the tanks, those kinds of units. And instead, they just got choked up, they all got killed, and he remaxed on Corruptors, which is what he's supposed to do, but he's not supposed to do that until the ground army is gone. And we saw the effect of that when the Thors took their free volleys on the Corruptors.
And let's not forget as well, when the Corruptors were first backing up the Broodlords, as soon as Bunny scanned and saw the Broodlords were moving to his gold base, do you remember the 8 siege tank push? I think that was pretty huge as well.
I didn't expect that to do that much damage.
But how else are you going to support the Broodlords? If you want to attack anything on the ground and you've got that kind of composition as a Zerg player, you have to move the Broodlords across the map. As soon as someone sees that, okay. Admittedly, when I think mobile units doing harassment, Siege Tank isn't the first unit that comes to mind, but Bunny did that really well.
I think One thing we could have seen DeParture do a little better that we didn't touch on in the game is static defense. Not so much spores. You don't need to set up a spore wall necessarily, but some spines. They would have done well against the Hellions. They would have really helped against the tanks.
Oh yeah, the late game Hellions have killed off an awful lot of
Yeah,
workers
and
as
like
well.
we talked a lot about the Hellions that were up at the 6 o'clock or the 12 o'clock base, but we didn't really talk about the one Hellbat that was at the 6 o'clock base, roasted like 10, 12 workers or something like that. Crazy amount of damage from 100 minerals invested into that Hellbat.
Nerf Hellbat confirmed.
David, please.
No,
David, are you watching?
Stop, David. Don't do it. I mean, we're resetting now. We're on a new map. Iron Fortress, much larger map as we spoke about. I wonder if let's assume that Bunny is likely to be going mech again on Iron Fortress, right? Or he's going to be going for it at least, win or lose. Is this the kind of map where Bunny is going to be able to more solidly hold a single position? Because you mentioned it's larger, there are going to be more bases to take. That doesn't necessarily mean the bases are automatically more defensible, for instance. So are we going to be seeing changes in composition from DeParture, for example, to split the mech army up a bit more?
Now, if I'm DeParture here, I'm going into this thinking, I want a very easy game, one of the roach timing. I lost a long mech game on Terraform, just a macro play. Iron Fortress it's pretty good for mech, because the 4 bases are in a position where you can defend them all pretty easily. However, the weakness of the positioning of the bases is how far away the 3rd base is from the natural. So I think it would be a great opportunity for DeParture to revisit what he did in game number 1 and try to, even if he can't just steamroll the front like we saw in Coda, kill the Thors, move in, there's no units left. What he can do, potentially, is just posture between the natural and the 3rd. There's not going to be that many mech units. You can at least try to pick off a couple workers here, pull out, try to bait Bunny into a position where you can pounce.
So what we're saying really here is that on this map in particular, even though we're going to have those bases available for both players to take, DeParture's best shot is arguably some sort of play that disrupts Bunny before he sort of gets to that 170 plus supply mech mark.
DeParture looked like he knew what he was supposed to do. He didn't execute it quite perfectly, so I'm not going to say that he doesn't have a chance in a macro game, but I think this is a good opportunity for him to try to break through with a roach push like that.
Okay. Well, we'll see if he is able to do that. We're going to be loading up onto Iron Fortress. This is game 3 of 3, of course, and it is still the first series of the day. We had an absolutely epic game number 1, and this will decide who goes through to the winner match here in the first group. Spawning in the bottom left position as the blue Zerg player representing MVP in his first best of 3 in this weekend tournament. He's done well in Pro League. He now needs to string them together through the entire weekend. It's DeParture. Dark Horse. Well, Dark Horse going up against the champion of our hearts, I would say, Penguin.
And Richard Lewis's prediction for the title.
And Richard's prediction to take it all. And you know what? He's just taken the first step to doing that. So
Can you imagine if the only person who's right is Richard?
That would be...
That'd be incredible.
Reddit would break. Reddit would actually break. Ladies and gentlemen, trying to break Reddit on Richard's behalf in the top right as the red Terran. It's Liquid Bunny.
Now on a 4-player map, we've already got something to talk about here. The spawns. And now, cross-spawn, if you're playing against a bio player, cross-spawn is fantastic for Zerg. You love this. You can spread your creep, take your bases. It's going to take a long time for the bio player to push around. You can't really parade push here, but Bunny has shown that he wants to go mech. And this is not a good position for DeParture to be in, because if he wants to go for that aggressive roach style, it's going to take a lot longer for him to walk across the map, first of all. And second of all, even if he goes for the macro game, it's going to be a lot harder for him to move around if he goes for Broodlords again. We thought that he was slow and out of position on Terraform. Wait until he tries to pick off bases on Iron Fortress and cross positions. That's going to leave him open.
I just want to say something about the camera shots we had just now as well. We saw Bunny just now, and we've also got DeParture. Admittedly, on the preview screen at the moment, both players have this intent death stare into their monitors right now. It's actually kind of scary. I'm looking at Bunny right now, and he looks really, really intimidating. He obviously went for a quick break. He's composed himself. He is determined to make this game work, and I think he got an awful lot of confidence from winning game number 2, and he's like, actually, I can do this. I am going to pull this off. And we can really see that in his expression right now.
Yeah, DeParture really getting on his Death Stare game. He does live with Losira, the king of the Death Stares. So Losira clearly coaching him just a little bit in that area of his game. And, well, I want to actually talk a little bit about the builds, because we have DeParture changing it up. he had some success with his pool first, but even on Coda, he took a little more damage than he bargained for, so he's opted instead for the hatch gas pool opening, a very, very greedy opening, which is going to allow him to potentially go into a very quick lair. He can go for very, very quick speed. We've even seen some Koreans like True go for speed, then cancel it and throw down an incredibly fast lair for really fast 2-base Muta.
Well, on this 4-player map as well, especially since the players haven't officially scouted each other yet, it just makes it a little bit easier to get away with that kind of play as well in this early game. So neither player really that concerned at this point. Bunny just going to be getting that bunker down in front anyway, but not expecting to have to use it anytime soon.
I'm interested to see what DeParture opts for here, because he's shown 2 different styles. It is possible that he opts for an all-in, kind of Link Bane all-in, maybe a bunch of speed lanes, or at least some some kind of semi-all-in pressure. We've seen True do a lot of that as well. But I think what's more likely that we're just going to see him go into the mid-game, probably go straight up to Mutas again, because his openings, more so than anything, have shown me that he seems to think he's the better player. He doesn't need to take risks early on. He can go pool first, not even make any lings, and just from there, try to get himself into a position where he can pounce and win based on his superior mechanical skill. Whether or not he's actually superior mechanically, we'll see. It's 1-1 right now. Bunny definitely in a position where he can take this, so DeParture may be rethinking his strategy just a little bit.
Yeah, 1-1 in a position where you just lost the previous game as well is not a position where you go, aha, it turns out I'm a lot better. I'm just going to take all sorts of crazy liberal risks. But DeParture, at the moment, being rather careful. He's just double-checking the front of the base with his Zergling there, even though an Overlord is about to pop in, just wanting to be very thorough with his scouting, making sure that no early attacks are coming in. And will be going for his lair behind all of this as well. Bunny, in the meantime, just kind of chilling out, grabbing those command centers like they're going out of fashion, and why not when you don't have any engagements in the next couple of minutes.
We've got a tech lab coming down for Bunny. It's a relatively early tech lab. He's not going to be switching it onto a starport or anything, I don't think. Pretty sure there is no starport, but we have a Roach Warren coming on down for DeParture. It's late enough that it can be a safety Roach Warren, but at the same time, it's early enough that it can actually be an aggressive one as well. We'll see if he decides to go for something like that, and it's gonna be Bio out of Bunny.
What we know is that he's going roaches.
Yes, there will be at least one roach on the field, probably.
At some point in this game. And
yes.
This is interesting that Bunny is opting to switch it up here. Now, do you think, and this is hard to tell, of course, that Bunny is switching this up because it was always part of his game plan? Or do we think he's doing it to throw DeParture off?
I think he's doing it because it's what part of his game plan. Has he actually... Now he scouted the position that DeParture was in, but until now, he didn't actually know that it was in this position. I feel like if he knew it was cross, he may have gone mech. But DeParture, as soon as he realizes that this is Bio, he's going to feel pretty good about the spawn locations, but the problem for him is that he is going for a Roach all-in.
Yeah.
10 Roaches on the way, no upgrades. This is a very fast Roach all-in, and don't get me wrong, Roaches can Roach all-ins can work against Bio, but they're better against mech.
I want to ask Bunny about this later and how much of this is mind games. I wonder, after game number 1 and then succeeding in game number 2, if he's gone, haha, my opponent's definitely going for Roaches to try and disrupt my play in game 3. Let's see if we can switch it up. Because
well, if he wins, we'll have an interview with him.
Yeah, I really, really want to hear that out of Bunny. But more Roaches on the way now. DeParture is committed at this point. He has to. I mean, there's so much supply in Roaches right now. There's not a lot else he can do.
It's big. He sees it.
The Roaches are seen as well. This is very, very good news for Bunny. He has maximum time to prepare. More bunkers going down instantaneously here. And
it's still a really late scout for Bunny. He went 3cc double engineering bay, which is extremely vulnerable to builds like this. This is not a 1-1 Roach timing that pushes at 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
this is a 0-0 8-minute 30 Roach push.
Bunny is absolutely not guaranteed to hold this, but he's giving himself as much chance as possible to do it. I mean, the 3 bunkers are going to be great. He's going to be able to surround with the STVs early on as well, doing a good job there. And now, all of a sudden, DeParture, well, no, he's not looking so hot there. He might not even get the bunker down. He won't.
Without the +1/+1 that we usually see with this kind of build, it makes it a little later. It also makes it a lot easier to focus down that bunker at the front. Bunny's got to be feeling fantastic right now.
Stim just finished. The second push, Bunny's going to have Stim to defend. The third base isn't even being targeted right now. DeParture just wants to move in. Ooh, double medevac drop, deciding to move back, and I think that's a pretty good decision here. The Roaches are coming into the natural. Everything is going out now, and... well,
there's
the second bunker goes down, but there is still one more bunker up, and DeParture's just not able to get any headway here.
Disastrous for DeParture. He's realized that he's not going to have a chance to push through and win with this. He added on double evolution chambers here. He's going for the 1-1, but he's so far behind in upgrades right now. He's already got Lair because he needed that for the Roach speed, of course. So he's saturated up his third base. He's not dead, but he's not going to be very happy with the way that just went, especially with the third base already landed for Bunny, and it's going to be so hard to deal with these drops.
That single roach harass doing a surprising amount of damage at the third base will get cleaned up right now, and here come the drops from Bunny. He's going to do some counter-attacking damage of his own. The Queens are going down so quickly here, 2 of them instantly disappearing, and these Marines are just in such a good position. They're doing so much DPS and whittling down the army so much here. I'm not sure DeParture can bounce back from this.
I don't know. He's going to lose his third base. There's no fourth base coming up just yet, so he's going to be down to just 2 bases, and there's no Spire done yet. There's no Mutas anywhere near finished, and some nice micro here on the Marauder there from Bunny. That's the linchpin of this attack force versus the Roaches, but the Marines, they're just doing so much damage.
This is insane. This drop has been so cost effective for Bunny here, and
that one medevac getting out with 1 health.
DeParture down now to 83 supply versus 114. Bunny has 3 mining bases, and we have potential Hellbats incoming for a follow-up push from him as well. With those upgrades, with the DPS from the Marines, what is DeParture going to do to stay this up? He's going to need a lot of sick Baneling hits to hold this.
You know what doesn't really bode well for sick Baneling hits?
What's that?
The lack of Baneling speed. It's going to make it very hard for him to hit, and it's not really going to rely on DeParture with sick positioning or coming in from multiple angles. It's going to rely on Bunny going for a coffee break to allow him to actually hit those Marines. Bunny could walk away, get a water, come back, and the Banelings would still be walking towards the Marines. That's how slow these units are without the speed upgrade.
Oh, and he's picking off the creep as well so that he can just try and engage a little bit close. He sees that the Banelings don't have speed. The Zerglings are doing a good job of trying to surround. The Medevac's being forced to pick up some units there.
It's nice, though, for Bunny, because he loses a Marine, he kills off 10, 12, 14 Zerglings. It's still a good trade for him, and he doesn't need to worry about... He's not in the usual position of, I need to push and deny the Zerg from getting a ton of resources.
All right, so DeParture's trying to be sexy now. I mean, he's down 40 supply.
Yeah.
He's got the 1 hero Corruptor coming out, by the way, to try and push the Medevacs back to see if he can sneak in a couple of kills here. But I think Bunny, I mean, the amount of damage he's done isn't about to be undone by a single Corruptor. Here come Banelings. There go Medevacs. Great hot pick up there from Bunny. Gets out once again after killing a bunch of drones.
And, I mean, he's trying to get a couple Corruptors up. This dark style. It's really nice because it means that if you win the fight, you're going to be able to chase down the Medevacs and really kill them off fast, and the Corruptors don't die as quickly as Mutalisks do.
Man.
But he doesn't have the money now to hold off this force at the front. He's down 50 supply. He's down 59 army supply. Now 63. He's got Baneling speed. That's true. He's got
plus
1-1.
2 armor is on there as well.
Yeah.
And, Baneling attack in the third base is doing quite well there. But look at the main army in the front. He's killed off a lot of Marines, but look at how much Bunny still has in reserve. He's pushing straight into the natural. That's enough. GG! And Liquid Bunny wins the first best of 3 after going a game down there. And I think we're about to get a hint of a smile, but right now what he's feeling is relief after losing game 1. Coming back in game 2 in that absolutely epic mech game, Stefan.
Yeah.
And then switching it up and winning with Bio in game number 3.
Really fantastic stuff from Bunny there. He probably had a bit of a heart attack, a bit of a heart palpitation when he saw the Roaches moving across the map there, because you never know. With somebody with as crisp timings as DeParture, you don't know if 1-1's about to finish. You don't know if +1 is about to finish, even though you know it's not done yet.
Yeah.
He probably had a bit of a heart attack for a second, but he held that front. He took no damage at all from the Roaches, and from there it becomes so difficult for the Zerg player to come back. And Bunny, really nice play.
Yeah, and he's, of course, you're always trying to second guess and look around to see if there are any other units you haven't spotted, if there are Lings coming to wrap around and stuff like that. So good hold there and great follow-up. Very strong follow-through. So we're going to be throwing it over to the analyst desks. Richard Lewis is going to be so happy. He's probably bouncing up and down in his seat. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, I haven't bounced in about 6 years, mate. But good attempt. I'm just glad Bunny made it actually, because that was pretty hairy, especially after that first game. I thought I'd pick your brains about it because we had a first clean game, you know, big smile on his face from DeParture, then like some attritional slog in the second game where it was really long and drawn out. So talk us through what exactly was going on there.
Well, mech is all the rage right now in TVZ. A lot of Zerg players are, I think rightfully so, complaining that it is extremely difficult for them. A lot of these maps are very confined, they're very narrow, and if you get to that late game with the way that Swarm hosts are, they don't really have a tool to deal with it. We kind of saw that evolution. DeParture in game 1 was like, I'm not going to let this get to the late game. And I felt like, Stefano and I were talking about this, like I think Bunny missed a few opportunities, not seeing the gas at the third, having the 2 Thors kind of floating around between the 2 bases was on the greedy side of things as well. So he kind of rightfully so lost that game. But then in game number 2, I thought DeParture did a pretty good job of making it a fight, but it just felt so futile the entire time. Like, you saw him be like, I need to counter over here, and there was a planetary, and just that single planetary in the roving army was invincible. He kept poking at the gold base, but it never did anything, and Stefano, would lean in.
The thing on this map, like every area you can fight it will always be a choke point. One perimeter fortress, and it's all blocked, you can't do anything. Like, you have 3 entrances, 1 bottom, 1 left, and 1 top, and every entrance is just like this wild, and you can't do anything. And like, he kept trying attacking, and that's a good solution, I think, against Mech, because if you let them do what they want to do, you're just dead. But like, it just doesn't work. Like, it's never cost efficient enough to be able to just keep going like this all game long.
Well, we'll come back and discuss it some more in greater detail. But what we're going to do now is we've actually got the victor. It is going to be Bunny, so we can ask him. He might be able to shed some light on it. He's with James Banks over in our interview section. How are you guys doing?
Very well, Richard. What a great game to start us off with. I'm joined by Bunny, and we're being told my mic's muted. Oh, there we go. I was told my mic was muted. It was not muted, but I'm joined by the winner. First game, well, not expected, as we were just discussing then. What went wrong for you? Obviously, it was a quick roach push. What was it from your end?
I think my transition was a little bit slow, and I didn't expect him to do that kind of all-in. I also forgot to build a turret in my natural. I had turrets everywhere else, and I thought I built one. So when his mutas flew like straight for my natural, I was like, oh damn, I can't believe I forgot. So that slowed me down a bit, and then I just got caught off guard. So it was just a very bad game by me.
Now, you're a player I know who's quite hard on yourself. You obviously came back there into game 2, long drawn-out game, but you just played it so well and so smartly. What was your mentality going into that after the first game?
I thought as long as I don't die, I'm gonna be all right. And like, at the start of the game, I saw that he kind of threw units away a bit carelessly. So maybe I don't think he was patient enough. And it's something new I've been doing, playing those long games. I know it's maybe not the most fun to watch, those long drawn-out games, but playing to win. So
A win is a win, and that's exactly what you've came here to do. Now, looking at the kind of lineup of players that you've got here, what are you thinking of your chances? Have you got that mentality of like, okay, I've got a game plan now, this is going to go all the way, or is there a bit of worry still of the amount of Koreans?
Well, wouldn't say there's anyone here that I'm worried about. I actually think this tournament is a very good opportunity for me, but I'll just take it as it goes. There's no one I'm really afraid of, so it's good.
Okay, well, we're going to throw it right back to the analyst room with Richard and the guys, and they can discuss some of the interesting comments that came off that last question.
Well, thanks for that, James. What do you think of what Bunny had to say about it? I mean, first of all, that's a great comment, right? As long as I don't die. I mean, I presume he means in-game and not just
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the game in a nutshell, basically. That's just the only idea in his mind. I survive, I win. That's that simple, make right nowadays. And it's a bit sad, but it's true.
We saw it play out that way. Like, I felt like his lead was absolutely commanding. Like Stefan was talking about, the choke point fights were all very one-sided, very Terran favored. And we were like, okay, get this over with. And then eventually, DeParture was actually able, especially with those Broodlords and the Queens, it was like, oh, hold on a second here. And even with the big Seeker missile hits, it was like, he's actually, if you look, Bunny's money was kind of low. He mined out the first 4 bases. Gold's mined out very quickly. And DeParture's looking to kind of just outlast him. But even then...
at some point, it felt like he had a chance. Like, it was equal supply and way less money for Bunny. And if he kept trading like that, it would have worked. But like, as soon as he got the Ravens and the splash damage, it just couldn't work anymore.
And that's where it happened. It's the cost efficiency there. Like, Queens were transfusing Corruptors, and Corruptors will stand up to the air, especially if it's just Broodlords. But, and even Huck was talking about this too, like, it's actually Ravens with Broodlords, or not Broodlords, excuse me, but Battlecruisers, where it becomes like, it's insane. Like, how do you break that? Because even if you fight the ground army of the Thors, you still have the battlecruisers up in the air, and a lot of times you're making such big trades for it. So it's kind of hard to watch from the Zerg perspective, because you wanted... I was actually like, I typically cheer for the foreigner usually, but in this I was kind of like, come on, DeParture, like break through that wall a little bit.
He is the underdog, right? I mean, there's no doubt.
In that situation,
yeah,
absolutely.
In that situation.
Yeah.
So, what have we gleaned about him? Because we all said we were looking forward to seeing him play, and how well could he do? I mean, obviously, I know it's the first game. He goes into that all-important losers game now. What did you guys make of his performance?
Well, it's good to see that he can really adapt to kind of every play style. Like, he could play mech and try to all-in them straight away. Long game mech, I still think he did quite well, knowing the situation, like how hard it was to break the turn. He did really well during the fights. Last game, He went again for the roaches all in. It didn't work. Like he was expecting Meg again, I guess. That it's just like a decision mistake. It's not really he fucked up anyway. It just happened.
Yeah, that was a strange one actually. And obviously I know nothing about the game, but it kind of felt like Bunny didn't really do a great job of scouting. He scouted quite late, and then he just happened to be in the right place to sort of catch.
Bunny meted him. It is frustrating for Zergs right now. They're looking for some kind of answer against that mech, and in that game, DeParture kind of broke from the mold and took a gambit in a sense that he didn't even go mutas, which is kind of the safer force map control style, and then following it up with roaches is the really typical thing we saw in game 1 and 2. In game 3, he skipped the mutas to go for a faster roach timing attack, which is typically, if he was facing the same build that Bunny did in the first 2 games, would have been very strong, but actually, with a bio opening, 3 bunkers already ready as well, Bunny couldn't have been more prepared and have the better build order. So did Bunny know that a roach timing attack was coming in? I don't necessarily think so, but he knew that was a possibility, and his bio play was going to be very strong against what DeParture's shown anyways. So it was a really well done, good series by Bunny, which is, again, nice to see, because a lot of times it's the Koreans that have a really good best of 3, best of 5, and you're like, wow, it's so smart what he did in game 3. And the foreigners just kind of throwing whatever will stick to the wall. But in this case, Bunny was the guy that crafted the better best of 3.
So, I mean, do you think that this is showing a stronger Bunny than we've seen at recent events?
For sure. Like, Bunny was the one making the decisions. He was the one making the strategy, and his opponent had to reply, basically. And you always want to be in this position in a game. Like, you are the one who takes the leads. And, yeah, DeParture was just so scared of Meg last game. He just went blindly on roaches and hoped that the opponent would go Meg, because he feels like Meg is the safest thing for the turn right now. So he plays Meg, he wins. And he plays Meg, I do that, I win. That's the only solution. And he was only thinking about Meg in his mind, because that second game just fucked him up, I think. His mind was melting after that, and he wanted to just break it straight away.
Yeah. And to answer your original question, too, I think we shouldn't judge DeParture too much from this series, because Meg is really frustrating. TVZ right now is pretty good on the other side. And like the Cash did a great job talking about, he's been making appearances in Pro League and beating players like Flash, so he definitely has the ability to. It's just in a little bit more of a long format, he now has his back up against the wall. He loses another series and he's out. So we'll see.
We'll see if he's got that testicular fortitude to be able to come through the tough spot. We'll find out very soon. Thanks for your thoughts, guys. We're now going to go to a break. It's going to be about 10 minutes, but don't go too far, because when we get back, we're going to have the hometown hero of Bling, and he's going to be going up against Snood, the Norwegian monster. So we will see you after a break. 10 minutes.
You want to rob my boner?